After a full month of strict quarantine here in Italy, we are finally going back to Canada, hopefully.
We came to Italy for a 2-month stay, but we got stuck when the borders started to close due to the COVID-19 outbreak.
By the end of this video, you'll see whether or not we were successful in getting back to Canada in the midst of all the travel bans.
To our subscribers, thank you for all your messages of support. It's been really great to hear from you as we waited out our quarantine. If you're new to our channel, I'm Gillian.
And I'm Stephanie. We're a couple who have been slow traveling our way across Europe with our 2 dogs for the past 6 months. Usually, we use this channel to share how-tos for travel, but today we're going to give you an inside look on our travel back home to Canada during this time of a global pandemic. If you're interested to follow our story, do click on that subscribe and notification button. As a quick backgrounder, we came to Italy with the intention of spending 2 months here. So we planned to spend the month of February in Florence, and then the month of March in Lecce, which is in the south of Italy. And then we planned to head off to the Balkans, where we would spend spring and summer exploring the countries there.
We were aware of the increasing number of COVID-19 cases in northern Italy, but when the national quarantine hit, it caught us off guard. So we made immediate plans to leave as we flee the scene here in Italy, which has entered a quarantine not nationwide as of yesterday. And today, with other countries shutting their borders, we decided it's time to buy a plane ticket and get on out of here. But overnight, the borders were closing all around us, and we found that we had no way out. We ended up taking shelter in the holiday home of a friend up in Lake Como. And in case you missed the whole story, we do have a video talking about it, which we'll link in the description below.
We have everything we need here to wait out the quarantine, except of course the grocery store is a little far away. It's an 8-kilometer round trip hike. Unfortunately, we don't have a car with us, so we have to do everything on foot. The other thing is that we are situated in the middle of the Lombardy region, which is of course the epicenter of the outbreak here in Italy.
The quarantine rules here are really quite strict. Only one person is supposed to go out, and that is specifically to get groceries and come right back. And when we bring our dogs out, we're not even supposed to go more than a few hundred meters. Even though it's beautiful here, we wake up every day to just terrible news in the headlines about what's happening in this region. And we can hear ambulance sirens every day. So there's definitely a certain amount of anxiety.
So even though we're safe and comfortable here for now, we are in fact quite isolated. We don't speak the language, we don't have a car, so it's not very easy for us to get around. We are far away from our families, so we can't provide them with any support. And also, if anything happened to us here, if we happen to get exposed to the virus, or if we had an accident, there's really very limited ways for us to get any medical attention.
So even though there are flights running now, we really don't know how long they'll be running for. In addition, our Schengen visas are going to be running out at the end of April, so the time is really ticking. With all that in mind, we've decided to put a pause on our European travels for now and head back home to Canada.
Now, there were no direct flights available between Italy and Canada, so we had to book a connecting flight. And that, of course, was also very stressful with all the travel bans in place and all the borders being closed. So we are going from Milan through Frankfurt to Toronto. So we're hoping that we don't have any problems making those connections.
We don't know what to expect from the experience, but we're going to bring you along with us tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes. With any luck, we'll get home successfully.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are here in the airport in Milan.
So far today we woke up bright and early, got everything packed up, and got our ride to the airport, which we had pre-arranged. Fortunately, there was a transfer available in spite of the lockdown, so we are really grateful that we didn't have to somehow rent a car or make our own way.
So as soon as we arrived at the airport, we could see that things are very serious here. There's hardly anyone in the airport at all, and the security is very clear about exactly where they want you to stand and where they want you to go.
You had to have like a very good reason to travel, and fortunately for us, traveling back to our home country was a legitimate reason. So we made our way through security, and we are now in the waiting area, which is really so empty, it's very strange to see, but we're also glad, of course, because it means an empty flight so that we don't have to worry about being too close to anybody and we can just make our way home safe. So the good thing with having such an empty airport is we felt comfortable after we passed through security that we didn't quite tuck the dogs back in their carriers, so they're still sitting out with us, and that just gives them a little more time to feel free before we have to stuff them back in for their long flight home.
So we had received a lot of messages of concern from our friends and family about our ability to go through this journey successfully. Every indication is that the flights will be running, so we did check every couple days leading up to our actual flight, but it's the flight crew is going on board right now. We can see them, so it appears that we won't have any problem at least getting to Frankfurt, and then we're really hoping that it's smooth sailing from there. We're on our first plane of the day and we're just settling in. The plane is very empty, so everyone is quite spaced out. And yeah, we're hoping it's just a smooth flight. The dogs do not love flying, so we're going to tend to their little cries. Actually, that's just Jasper. We're going to tend to his little cries and make him feel more comfortable. And then hopefully everyone will be in good spirits for our longer flight, which is 8.5 hours.
The flight was uneventful, which is exactly what we hoped for. Walking through the Frankfurt airport is like a ghost town. There is hardly any travelers in sight, pretty much just the few people who came off our own flight. Now that we've reached the last leg of our flight, we can finally breathe a sigh of relief. I think for sure we are going to be taking flight and making our way back to Toronto. So we were just talking to the flight attendants and they told us we could sit anywhere we want because in fact there are only 15 passengers on a plane built for 380. It's unbelievable. She told us that they have to maintain this route. So they're flying these basically empty flights. They're called rescue flights, and they're flying them once a day from Toronto, Frankfurt, return, just to make sure they're clearing up all the extra people like us who are still left in Europe needing to come back home to Canada. If you've watched this far in the video, you'll know that we successfully made it back to Canada. We didn't just breeze into the country though. We had to go through a few health checks before we were allowed back in, with the first one being having our temperature taken when we boarded our very first flight back in Milan.
We also couldn't get off the plane in Canada until we filled out a health declaration, and we were asked at passport control whether we felt unwell.
We're now all settled into our 14-day isolation period here in Canada, and we're just using this time to focus on maintaining our healthy routines and being productive.
We're planning to be in Canada for the next few months, but we'll pick up our international travel once the situation normalizes.
If you found the story of how we got back to Canada to be interesting, then we recommend you watch the video right here. You can click on it now that tells how we got stuck in Italy to begin with.
If you like this content, you can let us know by hitting that like button and also subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.